Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Moya K, Swedish Whiskey Girl. Today I'm here with two whiskies that we're going to compare, and it's the latest release from Nabraithrean. Might be saying that wrong, terribly sorry. But Nabraithrean is I'm going to try and say it as little as possible. But it's a company, an independent bottler's company, started by Andy and Brendan, who has this really genius idea, I think. It's very clever. You take a mother cask from a distillery and you split into half, and then you mature these two halves, these two brothers, because Nabraithrean means the brothers in Scots Gaelic, and you mature them in maybe different cask types, like a finishing time or different cask sizes. So you can do it with a lot of different things. The ones I have here is the latest ones that are from Benrinnes distillery, and it's been finished in two, one Oloroso Octave cask and the other one in a Pedro Ximinez sherry Octave cask. So very fascinating. It's going to be, I think this is a good one as well for people that want to explore what the cask does to a spirit and want to see the differences, for example, with these kind of sherry types. Pedro Ximinez is of course a sherry that is a lot sweeter in its style, and Oloroso tends to be a little bit more dry. So yeah, I'm going to start trying the Oloroso, and also worth mentioning, these are 11 years old and bottled at 48%. I think they're also limited, I don't know how limited, 75 bottles of each, I believe, and distilled on the 11th of December 2008 and bottled on the 28th of September in 2020. So let's start by having a look on the nose. Ooh, that's a lovely nose. It's quite gentle, but still very intriguing aromas. It's a bit like a milk chocolate cake. And some fruits. Is it like plums, maybe? I'm gonna compare it to so this one, the little smaller glass, is the Oloroso, and the slightly larger glass is the PX. Ooh. I will see straight away there's a difference on the nose. The PX is sweeter, and the Oloroso feels almost more floral in a way, like floral and elegant. Plum, a little bit of wood, and yeah, it's a lovely nose on the Oloroso. And also, of course, so the Oloroso is known as the wee brother, and the PX is known as the big brother. Sweeter, more raisiny, I would say. It's almost like there's more going on the Oloroso, like more layers to it. But I'm gonna warm it up a little bit, see if that's the problem in my very cold flats. See what happens. Usually, can't speak. Usually if you're warming up your glass, you can do it with your hands because it's body temperature, so you know it's not going to go too warm. But of course you don't want it to be too hot because you just want it to be that happy medium. But I mean, if you like it warmer, you can heat it up to whatever you prefer it. I just like it quite balanced, slightly colder than room temperature. It's just my personal preference. Yeah, a bit of woodiness with that raisin note as well. A little bit of floral notes underneath. Just judging on the nose, I think personally I prefer the Oloroso, but it's fascinating being able to compare them. So let's start by having a look on the wee brother on the palate, Sláinte Skål. It's quite a meaty spirit, which I think if you tried Benrinnes before, especially independent bottlings, you might recognise it. It's a nice sherry influence, it's definitely there. And it's like drying sensation, it's like the sherry notes have a drying spice, almost like cinnamon. and it goes hand in hand with the wood, so they're very well entwined. I would say a little bit floral on the palate as well. And then let's try the big brother, Sláinte. I think it's quite clear when you try them like this that the spirit is the same, but the PX casks seem to have softened it a little bit. They made it a little bit sweeter, a little bit more soft, but the essence of the spirit is still there. I'm just going to have a sip of water in between. Just kind of neutralize things. So this time we're going to start with the PX just to give it another kind of chance. It also has that woody note that is slightly drying, but there's definitely like a softer element to it, which I think is coming from those casks. Of course, because it's Octave casks, which are quite small as well. I think they're 50-litre casks. You get quite a lot of flavour extraction quite quickly. Well, you could also get more of that woody note coming out. So it's a big difference, I would say, between maturing in an Octave cask and a sherry butt, which is 500 litres. So let's try again the Oloroso. Oh, tricky. I don't know if I have a preference on the palate. The only reason I chose the wee brother, the Oloroso, on the nose is just that it seemed to have a little bit more layers behind it. Maybe I'm tempted to say that I prefer the PX on the palate, just because I like that kind of softer touch it's given this kind of meaty spirit. I think if you are someone who enjoys sherry maturation, you should perhaps check these out, and especially if you already know if you have a preference for Oloroso or PX. I would of course love to hear your thoughts. Have you tried anything from Nabraithrean before? Have you tried perhaps the previous release, which I believe was a Colila, that I also had the pleasure of trying? You can check that out, that review as well, if you're curious. But yeah, it's an interesting company, and seems like a lovely team behind it as well, so I'm so curious to follow them moving forwards. And something that was really exciting as well is that they sent me a little box of Telfer chocolate pralines to pair with these, so I can't wait to do that soon as well. I love the combination of chocolate and whiskey. And of course, before we wrap this up, just want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful you want to continue to support me on my whiskey journey. But I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Sláinte Skål.